Welcome to Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today we're talking with Michael Brennenstuhl. He's a master cheesemaker with Door Artisan Cheese Company, and Rick Reis, who is the national sales manager. Today's webinar is sponsored by the Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. With over 1,200 licensed cheesemakers and the only state that requires a license to make cheese, they are also the only place outside of Europe with a master cheesemakers program. Today, I'm talking with Michael Brennenstuhl, a Wisconsin master cheesemaker, and Rick Reis, the national sales manager with Door Artisan Cheese Company. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's a pleasure always talking with you. So wanted to get in today, and we very, very thankful that we're able to showcase some of our cheeses that we make here at Door Artisan Cheese. I'll give you a little background about me as a cheesemaker. I am a lifelong cheesemaker, and we are a 3.5-year-old company. And today I have with me Mr. Rick Reis, who is our national sales manager. And Rick has been with us for just about a couple of years.
Yeah, a little over 2.
But I've been a cheesemaker my entire life. I was born and raised in central Wisconsin. My entire career is spent working in cheese, and I worked for a lot of major Fortune 500 companies over the years, and decided that I wanted to get into more artisan specialty cheeses about 15 years ago. And as we progressed, I always had this idea of having this small artisan cheese factory with a store and a restaurant. And the goal was to try and provide a culinary cheese experience for people that come up to beautiful Door County, Wisconsin, where our cheese plant is located. For those of your people that view this, Door County is a very touristy area in northeastern Wisconsin. And so we get a lot of captive audience when we have visitors that come in. And so the cheese plant was built brand new from scratch in 2017. It's an 18,000 square foot facility. It houses a cheese plant on the far north side. In the center of the building is our market, and the view that you're seeing now is a picture of our restaurant with a nice atrium that we have. If you want to hit the next slide, Mike. So looking at our company as a whole, what we wanted to try and achieve is to really celebrate the cheese making tradition within Wisconsin. I'm very proud to say that I'm a Wisconsin cheesemaker and a master cheesemaker. And this was my way in order to give back to our industry and really to educate people and provide them with a nice experience. More than just a little cheese shop to pick up a pound of cheese on the way home. It's a culinary experience. The cheese plant is built and designed so that you can observe us making cheese up close and personal. This picture here is actually of our inside as you're walking in to our cheese market. We have about 100 different cheeses. We don't make all of those 100, but we do make about 29 or 30 different varieties on our own, which is quite unique for a small cheese maker. So the cheese making area is located via windows, so you can actually see our cheese makers hand making the cheese. We make small batch cheeses, and all of the cheeses that we make will end up going down into our cave area, which you see now. There's a 2-level area. This is the basement area of our facility. It's about 18 feet underground, and we have 3 beautiful cheese aging caves. Each of the caves are about 500 square feet. Depending on the variety of cheese that we make, those cheeses will go into an environment that makes them happy. Because there's a lot of cheeses that like a lot of different environments. So here's a picture of the view of the cheese vats behind the window. That area is probably close to 30 feet long. And so as you can see, we're about 2 feet from the window when we're making cheese in that first vat. And then we also do something really neat. We use theatrical microphones on our cheesemakers, myself included, and guests can come in and they can push a button and activate our speakers on our microphone so that we can have a live conversation with them while we're making our cheese. And that has turned out really, really well. Here's a picture of a cheesemaker. We're producing a cheese in the vat. This here looks to be like a potentially a cheddar, or it could be a Gouda after pre-draw before pressing. So you can see the microphone on my head, and we get a lot of interesting questions from the guests that come in. In fact, we get a lot of questions from people that want to try and fool the cheesemaker. So I have a lot of fun with it, but at the end of the day, the goal is to educate people more than what they had coming in. So nice, neat company. We do a full line of different varieties of cheese like we're going to look at today. And we're pretty proud of what we've accomplished in the 3 years we've been in business, in spite of some of the COVID things that have been going on. But we're very, very proud to be able to offer our cheeses out to the consumer. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Red.
Red Barn Farms is our sole supplier of milk. Red Barns is a family co-op. There are 9 family farms. Each farm has 50 or less milking cows. They are AHA approved, American Humane Association certified. What that means, obviously, is that you're getting the very best milk available. We do pay a premium for our milk. I will say this, just as an aside, the better the milk, the better the quality of the cheese. It's one of the reasons why we've been able to win 5 awards in 3 years. We contribute a lot of that to the quality of the milk, along with the quality of our master cheesemaker.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Kind of a real important, there's a shot of some of the farms, the families on the farms. And Mike had reiterated the fact that some of the cows actually seem like pets to the farmers. They are so interactive and involved with the cows. Unlike a lot of other places in the world, they are very happy cows. They're treated well, and as you can see, the families are very involved in the business. So when you only have 9 family farms as part of the co-op group, it's not a lot of people handling things, but they do a great job, good quality. And Red Barn Farms also is, they make their cheeses. They supply some cheeses. We happen to make a cheese for them as part of our agreement with them. So that's kind of an explanation of the slide there. There's one more. Look at that amazing interaction.
I actually go out to visit with the dairy producers. So I've actually had a chance to go out and meet some of the cows, or they've had a chance to meet me. And it's quite a warming experience to talk to these people. So our quality of milk is unarguable. It's our somatic cell counts are under 100,000 per gram, which is unbelievable. And plate counts are 0 almost all the time. So for those of you who know milk quality from the standpoint of somatic cell and mastitis and things, that these are happy cows, happier than the other state that we kind of compete with. So
So I'll give you a little quick history of my background. I born and raised in Green Bay, went to high school in De Pere, Wisconsin, college in Eau Claire, University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. Got my first job outside of the state with a Wisconsin company in retail clothing. Moved into the housewares business, eventually into the DIY market and home center, and was with Master Lock for 10 years. Came back to Wisconsin for a short period of time. Worked with Design House, which was originally the butter company out of Germantown, Wisconsin. Then got transferred back out to California, where I spent time in the storage organization and lock set business and lighting business, all in the DIY market. Eventually, I ended up back in my roots of retail clothing. Ran 3 Joseph A. Bank stores in Orange County, California. Eventually decided to come back home, which was about September of 2016. And I told my boss I was coming home. He said, "Have a nice weekend." I said, "No, I'm leaving California and coming back to Wisconsin." Always had a real keen interest in the cheese market. Grew up with a family from the Schreiber Cheese Company. They actually lived in our neighborhood 2 doors down. So had kind of a tertiary idea, but it intensified quite dramatically, especially when I came here. Ran the market for 2 years and got to learn a lot about cheese, learned a lot about the business, and now am pursuing expanding our market nationally. So that's where I'm at.
I'd say that that's a pretty handsome looking cheesemaker right there. You can see me actually in the back. We have a vat that we're making some Gouda in. And like I said, all of the cheese that we make is, of course, we have the new vats, but by and large, hand artisan produced. These vats will hold 5,000 pounds of milk. We generally get a 10% yield, so we'll generate about 500 pounds of cheese per vat. And we will make upwards to 3 vats of cheese per day. So we do have some, level of capacity, and the equipment is really neat the way I designed it so that it's very flexible. We can make cheddar, we can make pressed underway cheeses like Swiss cheese and Gouda, and we make a pressed underway fontina. So we're going to sample some of that today. So the system, if you will, the mechanics of what we do are unique in that it lends us to be able to do a lot of different things. And so that's why we can, say that we produce, some 29 different cheeses. And a lot of small artisan farmstead cheese companies like to focus on one type of variety, like a Gouda, or they'll just do a cheddar. And so we've been fortunate enough with our experience and our cheesemakers so that we can make a full line of Italian cheeses: Parmesan, Romano, Asiago, Fontina, and we even make some Sourdough Romanos, which are pretty rare. And so we also do a full line of cheddars. We do on-press cheeses like Munster and Buttercase. We make a beautiful German Buttercase. And of course, we can do the stirred cheeses, the Colbys and the Monterey Jacks. And we do a lot of flavored stuff too. We have a new cheese, our Chipotle Gouda, that just came out, and it's been very, very popular. Right. More than what we had even thought about, So the variety that we can bring to the customer is very, very, it's a very, very good thing for our company. And we've been lucky enough to have our top hat has won 2 world class awards. And we also have some original cheeses that we produce. We're going to sample a Valmy, which is my version of a Belgian Gouda, like a Chimay, and only different, a little bit, different in how we do it, but it's a beautiful cheese. And so with that being said, and we're also going to do a raclette today. So I'm going to be doing, I have one of my favorite cheeses. So later when we get sampling, we'll be talking about our raclette.
I always like to say we're small in size, but very nimble in the
Yeah.
number of cheeses we can produce. And I think it appeals to the market in general. The one thing I wanted to kind of emphasize when they were showing the photos of the vats is that the paddles that go around are actually removable. They're taken out. And so when Mike says we're small batch handmade, the only real automation is the filling of the tanks, and then the paddles as they go around for a period of time. So everything else is, like I like to say, small batch handmade.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
And artisan cheeses, for those people that often ask, because we get that question all the time, no additives, no preservatives. That's what artisan cheese is,
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to a processed cheese. So
Yeah.
I like to explain that too.
Exactly. I didn't talk a whole lot about our cave setup, which I believe we should, talk a little bit more about that. There are other manufacturers that use caves to age their cheese. And we were fortunate enough to be able to design and isolate 3 different areas underneath our facility. Here you have actually some Goudas that are aging on our racks. Each of the 3 cave rooms, we have some more Gouda on the right-hand side. I believe that's there's actually a Fontina on the left. And each of those cheeses, when we age those, require specific conditions. For example, when you're aging and drying Parmesan or Romano or even an Asiago, you expect to be able to have some moisture loss or drying going on during the curing process. Parmesan is 10 months in the cave or in the curing room. And so we can program a specific cave to handle that type of cheese. And in the other cave, we'll have maybe a cheddar and or even our raclette. There's many of them that, pair together that can be in the same environment. Now we have our own flora, like all of the other cheesemakers that have caves. When you just build it, you develop this, and every cave has a unique flora unto itself. And truly, I believe that aging process that we go through is so important, and that gives us that distinctive flavor difference that sets us apart. We think it's better. It certainly is more unique. And that exposure to that open air flora and drying is so important. And so we're very fortunate that we have a system that will allow us to be able to create these cheeses and expose that cheese to that environment.
Well, imagine you have 3 caves. One, you can control the temperature and humidity of each of the caves. So, that long-term aging cave versus the shorter term aging cave versus an extremely long-term aging cave. The flexibility is great. So even though they all look like caves,
Yeah.
The humidity and temperature control is really the vital part of
Right.
making that cheese as good as it is.
And it's so fun to, we give guest tours. We're not doing it this year because of COVID, but we actually can take an elevator ride down into our cave area. And we have, Rick, you've given hundreds, if not thousands of cave tours.
I always tell people that the ride down the elevator is free, but it costs them $20 to get out of there. You can't believe how many people would rather stay than come back up.
And then when I have a cave that's set up for Parmesan or Romano, the aroma that when I tour people, and we don't happen to have any Romano or Parm in a cave right now, but we did for about 1.5 years. And that aroma coming out, as with any Italian cheesemaker who makes hard type Italian, when you go into that Romano cooler or aging room, it's, to me, that is like heaven. I grew up making cheese for a company in the 60s called Frigo Cheese, which was a big cheese company at the time. ultimately it's called Saputo now. And, but we made all the hard type Italian. So I fell in love with Romano and Parmesan, and I still love it to this day. And I kind of use my old recipes from back in the day. So, but you go down into the cave through the elevator, it opens up, and you get a whiff of that air that comes out of there, and the guests just go crazy.
So this slide basically shows the various shapes that we have, the retail wedges. It's also available in wheels, quarter wheels. You'll notice the design and the sizes really are geared toward the type of cheese that's made. So for instance, the red one in the middle, that's our top hat cheddar. That is a cylinder shaped truckle design, if you will. That is what I would say an ancient English cheddar. The English taught us how to make cheddars when they came to the United States. Truckle was the English term for it. The name Top Hat actually came from when they arrived at Ellis Island and started dispersing into the New York area. They saw posters and signs and pictures of Abe Lincoln, and the top hat that he wore actually reminded them of their truckle, so they decided to call it Top Hat Cheddar. When you look at the larger wheels, like the one on the left, the Bell'Adagio, that is Mike's Parmesan, which is absolutely unbelievable. And people, if you're ordering today, it's about 3 years old now.
Yeah.
And it is as good as it can possibly get as far as a Parmesan goes. So the wheels vary in size depending on the type of cheese. We've got Sourdough, which is just below and to the right of the Bell'Adagio. That's the old Italian translation. Sourdough means shape in English. I always laugh because when I first saw it, it reminded me of a little mini keg of beer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the shape that it is. So
yeah, that shape originated in on the island of Sardinia in Italy. And again, when I was growing up as a kid, we produced Sourdough Romanos in that very shape, about a 7-pound round. And they sure are cute. And to my knowledge, we're the only company in North America that actually makes Sourdough Romano. Of course, it's a cow's milk, but it does have some sheep lipase and different things. So it's close to an original.
And the Asiagos are also available.
Same,
Sourdough.
absolutely.
So that's kind of the general gist. Goudas are what, usually 8 to 10 pounds.
10-pound round, traditional round Gouda. And we try not to make 40-pound blocks, although we can. We do, we have Munster forms, a 5-pound loaf where we can do red rind Munster, those types of things too.
Yeah.
So